Alright, guys, so dream wise, I had this dream about the band Muna. I just can't remember what it was. I did not sleep early. I slept probably after 1:30. I fell asleep to some ASMR. Kind of got woken up by it because of a commercial. And probably dozed back off. I was pretty energetic yesterday evening. I did some kind of like Chinese reflexology techniques. And I think that gave me more energy. My purpose behind it was trying to relax. My dreams were really vivid, but I just can't fully remember. It was just like really jumbled and kind of like topics shifting back and forth. But I know it was kind of about the band Muna. And their latest podcast that they did in real life. They have one of their latest podcast episodes. The band members were, talking to each other, and Naomi, who's my favorite one, Naomi McPherson, non-binary musician, plays keyboard, produces music, plays guitar, sings. They were basically, in the podcast episode, they were trying to explain a story where they had like some issue at a hotel where the jets in the bathroom jacuzzi kept like coming on at like 6 something a.m. and then like 9 or 10 minutes later they seemed to be on a timer, but the jets didn't really work when they were trying to like get them to work when they were like in the tub. But during that story, I think Katie, the lead singer, was kind of making comments about the jets, saying that like trying to guess what happened, and saying kind of like that Naomi had like sat on the jets or something and was kind of having some anal experience sexually with the jets or something. And I guess in the podcast episode, Naomi got pretty not upset, but kind of like annoyed, just kind of being like, you're just guessing, because you really want to tell a story, so just wait till I'm done telling my story, and then you can tell your own story. But was kind of getting annoyed. And I've noticed in other episodes too, Naomi doesn't really seem to like, or at least I don't know if they're pretending not to like it, or they're kind of saying they don't really like, not that they don't like it, but they kind of maybe don't really want to be like talking about like sexual topics like in detail too much, like on the podcast, about their own like personal life or whatever, which is understandable. And even when they're like dating or doing things with people, they kind of don't seem to want to talk about it too much. And so that's something that I had watched this week on their podcast. And that episode also had them talking about like an experience where they ran into Lady Gaga at a Hollywood party, and Lady Gaga looked at Naomi dancing and said like sexy, like and had some comments for them and was like interacting with them a little bit, and they were like totally fangirling over over, you know, over Lady Gaga. But, so in the dream, it was kind of like this back and forth conversation kind of about those topics from the podcast, like from their podcast. Like they were kind of like discussing it in further detail. I just don't remember what came of it or like what the details were specifically, but they were discussing it, saying like, oh, like, you know, like going more into detail about like, you know, I guess like butt stuff, kind of like, I don't really know exactly, like, but they were kind of like if you watch the podcast, you know, they kind of just like don't have one specific topic. They'll have a guest, but then they kind of just like talk about whatever, and they kind of talk over each other a little bit, which is fine, and they kind of like interrupt each other, and they kind of just go from one topic to the next and just like bring up different stuff. And so it was kind of like almost like a podcast. I guess I was dreaming about either their podcast or maybe I was in the room with them while they were like continuing these discussions. But I can't remember the specific discussions. I just know that like in the back of my mind, those two scenarios from their podcast were kind of like a theme, but I don't really know specifically who said what in the dream or like emotionally how they were. Sometimes I wouldn't say they argue like on the podcast, but I do notice on their podcast they seem to get a little, what's the word? They kind of have like a deep, I don't know how to describe it. They kind of have like a like they have like an emotional awareness of each other, or like they're able to express to each other. So I've seen multiple episodes where they're like, where one of them's like, I'm not really in the mood to like have people like, you know, on my case, or like, or I really don't want people like teasing me today or something like that. And then they'll kind of like take that into account, and they kind of won't like continue to kind of like badger each other or whatever. And so I've kind of noticed that. So it was kind of like, I feel like in the dream they were kind of like in a tense discussion, like not mean, not mad, just they were kind of having one of those discussions where like they were kind of like emotionally trying to like express kind of what they needed from each other. And there were other themes going on in this dream that had like nothing to do with that, but that's the part that I remember now. I mean, it's like after 11:30 right now, when I'm 11:30 a.m. when I'm recording this. And this morning I had remembered more. I think I slept from like maybe 2 a.m. or so, let's say like 2 a.m. to maybe like 6:30, and I felt fine at 6:30. And then I had my bulletproof coffee this morning. That really helped. I felt fine after that. I had for breakfast around like 8 or so, I had 2 scrambled eggs with a bunch of spinach and some like half an avocado, or whole avocado. It was a tiny avocado though. And I put some hot sauce on it and ate that for breakfast. A little after I had the coffee, maybe like 30-40 minutes after the coffee, had like 1 bottle of water. Had my Focus Factor gummies. I'm feeling pretty good today. I'm trying not to get a caffeine crash, because I think that's what happened Thursday. So yeah, like that's kind of this dream that I wanted to record about. I don't really know what to think about it, and I do kind of have the issue where it's like, because my sleep is so weird some days, because I think I drank too much caffeine too late yesterday, and I didn't like fully work out deeply, And so, like, I had too much energy, so I couldn't sleep early. But yeah, I feel fine now, you know. But sometimes when I wake up, I'm like, I don't want to spend time writing something down in case I might go back to sleep, you know. I'd rather just go back to sleep. And I did kind of go back to sleep this morning, like a little while. Maybe like an extra like 20 minutes. But yeah, that was kind of the dream. Don't really know what to do with it. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. All right, I think that's about it.